at this moment, we will definitely be hearing from the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, who is on the line from Port Harcourt. Hello, Dr. Peterside.
Good evening.
Well, let me just correct you here. It's good morning. We're well into Monday now. Well, I think if you say it's evening, then I'm sure you must have a lot of energy bottled up in you. Well, we saw scenes of protests trailing the conduct of the governorship candidate in Rivers State. And, of course, you were among the protesters. Well, what informed your protesting the conduct of the polls in your state?
Well, my party protested today, or well, yesterday, to the state headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The basis of our protest is that elections were not conducted in most parts of Rivers State. In the few places where there were semblance of elections, it was not conducted in compliance with the law. At various polling booths, there were no result sheets, and the law requires that results must be entered at level of polling booths, announced publicly, pasted at the polling booth. That was not done. In addition, the high level of voter intimidation was intolerable. Hello, are you with me?
Yes, we're with you.
Now, the allegation...
The level of voter intimidation was simply intolerable. Now, the third component is that before INEC announced that people could be accredited manually, there were no... Hello?
We're with you, Dr. Peterside.
Good. There were no incident forms throughout the state. We later found out that these incident forms were in the homes of various individuals. And so even when people presented cards, and their cards were not able to be verified by the machine, the fingerprint rather, was not able to be verified by the machine, they didn't have incident forms. So we knew they were up to games, some games.
Now, the allegation, of course, is that the reason you're saying all of this is because you've lost woefully at the polls and you're looking for an excuse to get a rerun of a competition that basically you lost.
That's not correct. If you recall, at the time my governor, Governor Chukwuemeka Amechi, went to his hometown in Upima, the first thing he asked when he wanted to commence the accreditation process was to see the result sheets, because our agents had sent text messages round that they observed that there were no result sheets anywhere. That was captured on your station by 8:30 a.m. on the election day. The governor asked for the result sheet. The presiding officer said he wasn't giving any. And the governor said, I will not present myself for accreditation until I see the result sheet. He waited for a fairly long time, and the result sheets were not forthcoming. Now, I had a similar incident in my own area, and in almost all areas in Port Harcourt. That was about 8 a.m. in the morning, between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. At that time, they had not conducted the election. Nobody could have claimed that anybody won or lost. So it's absolutely not correct.
All right, what evidence do you have, really, that there were, these things happened? And of course, Mr. Kayode Idowu said earlier yesterday that it is not the procedure in conducting elections that when a voter gets to the polling station, the first thing they ask for is the result sheets, because that's not the first thing that happens.
Hello?
Hello, did you hear me?
I heard you very well. Now, Two things. One is that we have party agents. Our party agents that were stationed at the state headquarters of INEC were chased away a night before the election. And this young man who represented our party at the INEC office formally filed a petition that he was sent away by the administrative secretary of INEC from the party headquarters. He smelled a rat at that point. Now, when our agents got to the various polling units, they also discovered they are accredited, they are by law expected to request for all sensitive materials. When they got to the various polling booths, they requested to see the result sheet. not shown. They called attention to the leaders of the party. It's not like every person who went to the polling unit asked for the result sheet. Our agents who are credited to see the sensitive material go to the polling booth. Now, whoever who said it's not mandatory that the result must be a polling booth, for me, I have two explanations to make, two inferences to draw. The first one, by that statement issued by Rivers State INEC, it's an admission that the result sheets were not at the polling booth. The second thing they said is that it's not mandatory that people must see the result sheet. It is mandatory that agents must see the result sheet before they proceed the election. If agents don't see the result sheet, the law requires that you must enter the result in the presence of all the agents at the polling unit. It must be announced at the polling unit. The result must be pasted at the polling unit. If the result sheets are not in the polling unit, how will you record it? How will you announce it? How will you pay? That's the law. They should understand the import of the law.
Now, the question really is, in order for you to get INEC to actually examine this complaint with a view to rerunning elections in Rivers State, you must be able to prove these allegations. And so again, the question is, what sort of evidence have you put together that you are presenting to INEC?
Well, we have a body of evidence. We've got documents, we've got video evidence, and series of evidence. I'm sure that our evidence will be incontrovertible. Nobody would doubt the fact that there were no elections in Rivers State, or in substance, there were no elections anywhere in Rivers State.
Well, let me ask that question in a different way. Okay, you do have evidence. Have you made
a body of evidence?
Oh, absolutely. Now, have you actually made a formal complaint to the appropriate authorities, and that also includes INEC?
We have. Now, if you listen to the chairman of INEC, he admitted, he acknowledged receiving complaints from Rivers State, and that the complaint is being looked into. Now, today, if you watch the protest or the procession of the protest, we formally moved to the INEC office in Rivers State, even when we know that the resident electoral commissioner is fully compromised. To an extent, I can say she's a card-carrying member of PDP, even though that's a material to us. We went to the INEC office in Rivers State and formally presented our protest. It was received by the administrative secretary, or somebody who presented himself as the administrative secretary, acknowledged receipt of same, and we have that document.
When do you expect to hear back from INEC? When do you hope to hear back from them?
Well, the chairman of INEC said in the next 48 hours we will definitely hear from him. So I take him by his word.
And if the decision is that the elections in Rivers State should stand, what will be the APC position?
Well, I don't see INEC making that decision, because it would dent the credibility of the election, even as the observers did observe in their observation. And again, Nigeria is a global community. Nigeria is part of a global community. In the 21st century, we can't be talking about elections where over 1 million and 1.8 million people are disenfranchised. I'll be very surprised.
Mr. Peterside, in how many areas did these irregularities occur? In how many areas?
I am aware that in the foreign local governments, they didn't have a single result sheet. And
in all the local government areas,
excuse me? Single result sheet. Eleme is a local government where they killed 2 persons on election day. One was at the direct order of somebody who is running an election, some candidate. In Kokana local government, there were no result sheets anywhere. Senator Magnus Abe, who was our candidate for Senate, went to the police station to report, only to find people thumbprinting, and we have a video evidence of that. Find those who were supposed to be electoral personnel thumbprinting. They were caught on camera at 4 stations. There were no result sheets anywhere in Kana. There were no result sheets at all in Kana local government. In Emo has similar thing in Ikwere, in Omoma, in Eche, in Akukotoro local government. In Ogubolo local government, result sheets were found in the home of an individual, and as we speak, I think we have access to 1 or 2 of those result sheets, because when we got to the home of that individual, they ran away, but I think we were able to lay our hands on 1 or 2 and did a video documentation of what happened there. In Okrika, we also had a similar incident. Throughout Okrika, there were no result sheets anywhere. and the accreditations were not properly done at any point in time. Andoni, there were no result sheets in Andoni. In Ahoda East, Ahoda West, and Onega. In Opobo Nkoro, which is my own local government area, we observed that result sheets were given us only in 3 wards. In 8 wards, result sheets were not given out. In Obiapo, we also observed that result sheets were given out only in few wards, or few units in some wards, and in majority of the areas of Obiapo, result sheets were not given out.
So in those areas where
result sheets, the issue of high-level voter intimidation, where both the police, the army, were used to harass our people, chased out, and our agents arrested. At the last count, over 55 of our persons were arrested at various points.
You mentioned about 8 areas now, 8 or 9.
Well,
those areas where...
Just a moment. He did say something very interesting. You said you have a video evidence of people thumbprinting at...
You're right, very correct.
Exactly. Now, what I'm going to ask you is that will you make that video evidence available to Channels Television?
We will be willing to make that video evidence available after we have submitted it to INEC.
Okay, we'll be taking you up on that. Just remember, you've made this promise in the ears of the whole world.
Mr. Peterside, you mentioned those areas where there were no result sheets. Well, you also mentioned that there is a procedure that's supposed to take place afterwards in the absence of the result sheet. Is it that the result sheets came late, or they were not there at all, and then the procedure was not followed afterwards to announce the results in the presence of the voters at the booth?
The result sheets never came at all throughout the exercise. The second thing is that let's assume the result sheets even came late. Let's assume. Even when I know it didn't come at all. The results were never entered in polling booths, were never announced in polling booths, were never announced at ward collation centers. Never at any point in time.
All right, Mr. Peterside, what reasons were really given in these places that you have mentioned that collation and all these things didn't happen? What reasons the INEC officials gave?
Well, most of the presiding officers who were supposed to be coppers, even when we found many of them who were PDP members, and we have video evidence of that, those who are also PDP members, we have video evidence of that. We will show you video of where they were participating in the campaigns of Mr. Nyesom Wike, and where they were now adorning NYC uniform, participating as coppers and serving as presiding officers. That we also have. Now, most of them, we put them on the spot, on camera, and they said they were not given by their various supervisory presiding officers. That evidence we also have.
Well, Dr.
And it's widespread.
Dr. Peterside would like to say thank you very much for your presentation of your point of view of the conduct of the elections in Rivers State. Well, would also like you to stand by. We may just be getting back to you again as when we thrash out these issues from this point.